Okay, everybody. Episode one, how to hire a professional home inspector. So in Texas, and this varies by state, but as I said in my We're Back on the Air teaser, Texas has the most stringent home inspection standards in the country. Everybody thinks California, New York, Florida. No, we blow them all away. Our reports are way more detailed. Our inspectors are held to a much higher standard. We have three kinds of inspectors. We have an apprentice inspector, a real estate inspector, and a professional inspector. Always hire a professional inspector. And here's why. An apprentice has to be with a professional inspector to do their inspections. A real estate inspector has to have their inspections reviewed by a professional inspector that sponsors them. A professional inspector has none of that to deal with, and they can sponsor real estate inspectors and apprentice inspectors. So you always want to hire a professional if possible because they're going to give you the most experience. They had a much harder training program than the other two. Um, I mean, it takes, at least when I did it in 2006, it took a year to get through everything and then take the exam, which was very difficult. So they're not out there to kill your deals if you're a realtor or if you're a buyer or if you're a seller. Now, there are some that are very ego driven. We want to stay away from them. Some of these questions are going to help us identify them. A good real estate professional is going to have a list of 2, 3, 4 inspectors that they've already vetted, that they've worked with in the past, that they know are going to do a good, thorough job, but yet not use inflammatory language and try to be a know-it-all and show off. I've been around them. It's pretty funny, actually, when I go on inspections for buyers as a real estate agent and I'm with the inspector and they have no idea of my background. And I generally don't say anything because they figured out very quickly when I ask very pertinent questions that they're like, you can kind of see their head snap and like, what? What'd you just ask me? I know what I'm talking about. You want an inspector who's going to educate you, who's going to advocate. And when I say advocate, who's going to tell you the truth, whether you like it or not. How they say it's really important because there's no perfect home. A lot of people buy new construction, they don't get an inspection, they think they don't need one. Huge mistake. I've been on new construction inspections back in my inspection career days that had 40, 50, 60 deficiencies. And some these weren't always like inexpensive homes. Sometimes these were 800, even did a $3.5 million house that had a tremendous amount of deficiencies and issues, things that needed to be corrected. So always get an inspection. The inspector works for you. He can't even share the report with your realtor unless you give him permission. So you want to be at the end of the inspection at a minimum. When I was an inspector and even as a realtor, I tell my clients, let them do their job. Let's show up near the end. They'll answer questions. They'll point out things they want to show you in person, but don't distract them. It's a great way for them to miss something. When I was an inspector, I always did houses the same way, clockwise. And then when I went back over the details with the client, I went counterclockwise. And you know what? Every single time, almost, I don't know, over 4,000 times, I found something new when I went counterclockwise. It's just the nature of how we see things, how we're distracted by things. So you don't want to be a distraction. You're paying them a lot of money to give you a detailed report and a detailed analysis of the status of the property. So and by the way, these questions we're going to go over, I'm going to put a link at the bottom of this podcast and also our Facebook, our YouTube video. These are the things you want to ask. You always want them to be a teacher. You want them to take the time to explain things. If they tell you, I have a 2-hour window to inspect the house and I got to go, don't hire them. First of all, 2 hours is not very long depending on the house, the size, the age, the condition. And you want them to spend some time with you, not only pointing out deficiencies, but showing you where the air filter is. You know, how to do this, how to do that, how to access this component or that component. I never did more than 2 a day because I wanted to have the kind of the bandwidth to spend time with them and explain things to them. It's the biggest investment in most of our lives. So that you want to know. You want to be empowered through education and through knowledge. That's the bottom line. So what does it cover? The Texas Real Estate Commission has some SOPs that they break down what the inspectors have to inspect and report on. There is a promulgated inspection form. Most of inspectors are using software that has that, built in. You always want pictures. You want not just a big group of pictures within the report, but within each section, pictures with arrows, circles, whatever, so you can see what they're talking about. You always want to find out how long they've been in the business. The license number tells you a lot. Like my license number is 10107. They're now in the threes, I think. So it's been a long time. Not that a newer inspector can't do a good job. We have an inspector on our list, vetted list, who's only been 3 years, but he is exceptional at what he does. And he's the kind of breaking the rule for us, but I trust him. And the other thing is he's always picking my brain or other inspectors' brains about, what do you think about this? What's your opinion of that? I love that. I like doing that myself. It's how you learn. So it's, probably 3 years is the minimum. Now, there are probably good inspectors out there with less than 3 years experience, but I can tell you in 3 years, there was a lot I hadn't learned. Yeah, I knew the book. I knew all the SOPs. I knew the codes, but that's different than you're looking at houses built 130 years ago to brand new. And there's just all kinds of components and systems, and codes are always changing. Standards are always changing. So you want to have, my rule of thumb is they need to have at least 200 inspections under the belt. And 200 is kind of a joke, but at that point, they have seen a lot of stuff. Do they offer repairs or improvements based on the inspection? Number one, that's illegal in the state of Texas. An inspector cannot perform repair work on a house they did an inspection on. Same way with a realtor. I have a lot of licenses. I do not touch homes that I've represented as a realtor or as a home inspector, period. How long will it take? Again, they range from 2 hours to 5 hours, depending on the size of the home, the age of the home. Is it a pier and beam? Is it a monolithic slab? Is it post-tension cable? There's just so many factors involved. What's the slope of the roof? Are they going to have to use a drone? I mean, there's just a lot of things that go into it. You want them to be thorough, though. If they say we're in and out in an hour and a half, 2 hours, that's a red flag. What type of report inspection do you do? Is it, believe it or not, there's still inspectors out there doing them by hand. That's a red flag. We sold a house in New Braunfels. I was an active inspector at the time, and no pictures, handwritten report, and half the stuff on there was wrong. And I had to point it out to them and show them by taking pictures and send them back to them. They were completely wrong. Most of them are using software. The phones are so sophisticated with the cameras now, they can use their phone for their cameras. Back when I was doing them, we didn't do that. Camera wasn't good enough, but they are now. You want to ask that, what kind of report and when can I expect it? Later than the next morning is unacceptable in my book. I always try to deliver mine the same day, even if that means I had to stay up late and email it at midnight. Because number one, as an inspector, when you wait till the next day to write it, sometimes you make mistakes. You forget things, especially if you've done 2 or 3 in a day. Things blend together. I would say the next day by noon is the latest that I would accept. You want to ask, have you ever been disciplined by the Texas Real Estate Commission? And by the way, you need to be asking your realtor the same question. Have you ever been disciplined by the Texas Real Estate Commission? And if so, what is it? And by the way, for inspectors and realtors alike, it's public information. You can go right to the TREC website and find it. You can look them up by their last name, their license number, and see all the disciplinary action. You ask, will I be able to attend the inspection? If they say, I prefer you not come, don't hire them. Now, if they say, I prefer you come near the end, that's a good answer because they don't want to be distracted. Never, ever pass up an opportunity to learn more about the house. And that brings me to this. I've had literally pretty heated arguments with brokers over the years. I've taught a lot of classes to brokerages about inspections and the relationship between inspector and real estate professional. And I've had brokers argue with me, oh, I don't want my inspectors going to the inspection. And I say, you're making a huge mistake. You think you're eliminating liability, you're actually increasing the liability. And here's why. If there is an issue that goes to a lawsuit or arbitration or mediation, one of the first questions asked is, as a realtor and as a homeowner, were you there? Did you see it firsthand? And if you say, I wasn't there, your credibility goes way lower. And as a realtor, you have a fiduciary duty to serve your client's best interest. And by the way, you need to know these things to be able to write a good repair amendment or to negotiate repairs or concession or whatever the case may be. Your broker's not protecting you. They're putting you in more liability. I can tell you, I've been a witness in deposition as an inspector in lawsuit, and those plaintiff attorneys will tear you apart. Well, what did you think when the inspector told you this or that? Well, I wasn't there. What do you mean you weren't there? I thought you represented your clients. You look bad. It's not a good picture. So if your agent says they're not going, you might want to think about hiring a new agent. I'm just being really honest. That's a lot of it's laziness, or they think they're protecting their liability. They are not. And by the way, most realtors need to go to every inspection so they can learn how component systems, how a house is put together, what to expect, how to negotiate firsthand because you've seen the issue. You heard it straight from the inspector's mouth. It's my opinion. Do you use thermal imaging? I think this is a must in this day and time. And I'll tell you, especially on new construction, I can't tell you how many new construction, the builder, because of the way houses are built and the timelines and the way these subs roll in and out, ceilings get put up, drywall gets put up, and there's no insulation. All kinds of issues. And if there was a bad seal on a window or a vent pipe, a wet vent pipe coming through the roof or whatever, the thermal camera will pick it up if it's been raining recently. I really think, back when I did them, we had a little device, a little thermal camera we put on our actual phone. And it was good, but not nearly as good as the FLIR cameras they have now. And they're relatively affordable. The other thing is, I don't expect my inspector to be an engineer, but I really like when they have a zip level. So if there's I used one when I was an inspector. It's going to be clearly written on the report. It's not an engineer's opinion. It's just some basic information on the measurements of the house. And a lot of engineers want to hear that anyways when you call them if it requires a further evaluation by an engineer. If not, foundations are tricky. I can tell you there's been many, many times in my career as an inspector, as a realtor, and as a contractor where I thought engineers going to require this, that, or the other, and they didn't. Or I thought, no, everything's great. And they're like, oh no, we need to put some piers here. We need to underpin there. We need, so trust the engineer. Be really careful about hiring a complimentary free foundation evaluation by a foundation company because their job is to sell you their solution, whether that's piers, cable lock, whatever. I would rather spend $400 or $500 on an independent report from a professional engineer who is going to say, yeah, it needs it, and here's where it needs it. Because the foundation company is going to try to sell you as many piers as they possibly can. They charge by the pier or cable lock, whatever their solution is to underpin the foundation or stabilize the foundation. Here's the biggest thing. I'm fixing to do a video where I show you how to put in a pressure compensated self-cleaning drip line system around your foundation that will eliminate 95% of potential foundation issues. Engineer will tell you this. Most foundation issues were preventable with proper foundation care. If you don't have a sprinkler system, if you're not watering your foundation in a meaningful way, and you are in most parts of San Antonio, really from southern Oklahoma all the way to South Texas, we have very expensive soil. We have thin topsoil, then we have clay. When clay dries out, it shrinks. When clay gets wet, it expands. And there's other types of soil that do the same thing, but clay's the worst. By having a consistent moisture program, not you don't want to water it. You want to stabilize the soil around the foundation. And I'm going to show you how to do that. I've even got a blog now showing how to do it without the video, but just the instructions. For $150, you can build a system that will water your foundation. And you spend another $12 on a moisture meter that you stick in the ground. And based on the time of year, the temperatures, is it western sun wall? Is it eastern, southern? The western sun walls, that soil dries out way faster. On my house, I have to put twice as much water on it in the summer. Sprinklers will do a pretty good job if there's spray heads up against the foundation, close to it. But that drip system is amazing. Do not use soaker hose. Soaker hose, even when they say it's pressure compensated, I'll tell you, you can throw that out the window, connect it to your hose and see how much more water comes out near the hose bib than comes out near the end of the run. Even pressure compensated soaker line soaker line doesn't work very well. You want a pressure compensated self-cleaning drip line. Has an emitter inside the tubing that cleans itself every time the water comes on and pressurizes. You get the exact same amount of water 99.5 feet away as you do next to the hose bib. Make sure you have a good filter on it with a 150 mesh, a pressure reducing little device that brings the pressure down to 25 psi, and it'll last you 15, 20 years. Put it on a timer, a battery operated timer. I tell people, most houses either have a hose bib in the front and back or left and right. Use two systems. Yeah, you spend twice as much money, but you can usually one side is going to be western and the others are not. I'm telling you that western side is going to need a lot more water. So you have to kind of think through it. But those are kind of the basic questions. You just want to think about, this is the biggest investment in your life, most likely. Spend $500, $600, $700, whatever it is, for a good inspector. If they say you need a hydrostatic drain test, do it. If they say you need an engineer to further evaluate, do it. A lot of realtors say, oh, all the inspectors have all this boilerplate language. They want to pass it on to engineers and plumbers. That's just not true. I won't get into the details, but I back when I was active, I actually went through about 150 reports and found that less than 15% I called for further evaluation. Because, well, it depends on what the further evaluation. AC, you want it further evaluated most of the time on those because there's always issues with them, whether it's a dirty evaporator coil, a dirty condenser coil, temperature splits are not right, condensation's not draining properly, whatever it is, right? You want to have it further evaluated. That's $100 or less service call. And honestly, you need that anyways, because the home service plan that you probably get on the house when you buy it, if you make a claim in that first year and you don't have a service receipt, they may deny the claim. So that's another thing you need to be thinking about. So those are the things I would be thinking about, questions to ask, and call 2 or 3 inspectors. I tell our clients, feel free to call all of them. They're all good, but maybe one clicks better with you than another, or maybe one turns you off and you're like, I don't like his attitude or whatever the case may be, then don't hire him. But there's, right now, I think active about 3,800 inspectors in the state of Texas. And some of them, I wonder how they got their license, because it is a hard license to get. But the vast majority of them are very professional and very experienced, know what they're doing. So trust their experience, their knowledge, and their expertise, and use that to your advantage in negotiating repairs or a concession or whatever it might be. Hope this was beneficial. I will have links on both the YouTube and on the podcast in the description for this document. Feel free to use it. If you're a realtor, you're welcome to use it too. Just give credit where it belongs. It's my document, and I've had this document over 10 years. But you're welcome to share it with your clients, and have a blessed and awesome day. and we'll talk to you real soon.